Hey, it's Ed Emerson again, Dem Talk America, brought to you by TigerEye Design. If you go to TigerEye Design's webpage today or in the near future, you can get a free, absolutely free sticker. Reelect Joe Biden. That's what we're talking about. Dem Talk America, trying to do the best we can. Today, I am honored to have a very dear friend of mine, Kevin Eckery. And Kevin is former press secretary for Governor Pete Wilson, who's a good man, Marine, tough guy, but one of those guys that the staff loved working for. And Kevin, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Ed. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to talk about this fall. We're going to use your scope into the future and see if you can't give us some intel. My first question for you, and I think I'm fascinated by this, President Trump's support has really solidified. There is a base of voters who are not going anywhere. And I'm wondering if you can distinguish between the different parts of the Republican Party and folks such as yourself. How many are there, first of all? But folks such as yourself who have sort of are never Trump people. And is that going to make a difference? And can Joe Biden win in the fall?
Well, can he win? Yes. Will he win? We're going to have to see. It's not a cakewalk. I mean, there's a hardcore 35% of Americans, I'd put it, who are going to vote for Trump regardless of anything that comes up. You've got another 10 or 15% who I think, frankly, lean toward him because he's a Republican and because they're conditioned to voting for a party and not a person. And then you have a small minority of Republicans who have basically said, screw it, I'm walking away, that this is a guy who doesn't respect, his constituents enough to actually be honest with them and to answer some of the questions that he legitimately raised in his first in the campaign for his first term, but that he's kind of abandoned. I mean, Senator Romney said it really well, and that he doesn't support Trump because he said he believes that the president, regardless of their gender, should be someone whose character that you want your kids to follow,
Right.
and that in the absence of character, there's really nothing there. I mean, it becomes a transactional empty suit. And this is a guy who, in talking about Trump, this is a guy who was, created by his own publicity machine and the connivance of NBC with The Apprentice. I mean, they pretended this guy was a hugely successful businessman, and because it was on TV, people bought it. I mean, it's really simple as that.
What do you think? I mean, if you had to put it in a list, I'll say 5, but I don't need 5. What do you think Trump's biggest issues are going into the election? I mean, the campaign started today or yesterday when Mitt Romney came out and did us a big favor. Moving forward, what do you think his biggest issues are?
Well, I mean, his biggest issue is not his issue. It's the GOP and abortion, and that they're so far out of sync with the suburban female voter and the higher educated voter that it's not even close. The problem, though, is are those people so disgusted that they're just going to stay away and not vote? And so part of what has to happen is how do you energize the people you want who, frankly, as much as they might like and respect Biden, who does have character, there's just the simple fact that you've got 2 old white guys running for president, and there's not much, there's not much future there. It's comparing the past, and that's just a difficult sell that has to be overcome.
Do you think, and I've been looking a lot at the data in suburban Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, for example, suburban Milwaukee, Wisconsin is one of the other battlegrounds. Do you think that suburban Republican men and women, do you think they're monolithic? Do you think that there are a number of different issues that cut in those communities? And which issue do you think Biden might enforce or reinforce in those particular communities?
Well, I think that he's got to reach out to suburban women again. I mean, they're going to be the key. I mean, he was put in the White House on the strength of black voters and
Right.
suburban women who, regardless of party, were afraid of Donald Trump, and they were afraid of and endangering Roe v. Wade and other issues that really animated them. Those still animate suburban women. But the important point to ask is, do they animate them enough to overcome the exhaustion that
Yeah.
politics has become in this country? I mean, Ed, you and I are people who think of politics as something noble because it can
Yeah.
accomplish great things. But even you and I are worn down some by all the stuff that's gone on. Imagine civilians, people who've been outside the process. I
Sure.
mean, they're just crushed and demoralized and honestly wonder if it matters. Those are the people we have to reach.
Right. Here's the $1 million question, Kevin, and I'm going to put it to you
Yeah.
hard and fast. How can Biden win? What does Biden need to do between now and November to reinforce voters that he's the right guy and the base and so on? What can he do that he's not doing right now?
What can he do that he's not doing? I mean, there's a handful of things that I don't think he's doing yet. But that have to take place. I mean, one of the key changes is that we can't buy enough advertising to do anything on this campaign. It's not a matter of just looking at somebody in broadcast television, making sure you've got the best commercial slots on WRC or KNBC or any of the other TV stations, because this year more people are getting their news and paying more attention to Instagram, Facebook, and other social media sites. They're
It's
spending more time staring at their phone than they are doing anything on television. And then on television, the only thing they reliably watch that crosses demographics, crosses race, class, education is sports. And there's
right,
only so many commercials you can buy during a given football game.
right,
Um, so the dilemma is, how do we reach people? I mean, I'm going to use Trump, but it's not just Trump. But Trump has
sure,
succeeded in cutting people off from legitimate news sources. We no longer depend on the Post or the Times or the LA Times or any established and well-regarded media outlet to curate the news for us. Instead, those institutions, like so many other institutions, have really been shellacked and reduced because of the anger that Trump has amplified and catered to. So it's not that those people are missing; it's just that they're not watching television.
right,
So I've been in the TV business a long time. When I started, the audience, let's say the audience was 100, okay, and I was working at a TV station in the Sacramento market that had a 51 to 54 share in its evening news product. Difficult to
and
argue or
that's
be
huge.
unhappy.
That's absolutely
Oh, it's
massive.
huge. I mean,
Yeah, right,
in most markets, you don't have anything like one station having a majority of all TV sets on,
right.
watching them on a regular basis. So it wasn't a special event. It was Tuesday. Okay. Um, but now their ratings are the same. I mean, they're still, or rather their share is the same. They're still easily knocking back 50 to 55% of the market for that evening news, but their audience has shrunk 70%.
Ah,
Um,
wow.
there and not only has and that's not untypical of news. The circulation of a daily newspaper. I'm in San Diego today, and in San Diego, the daily paper has gone from 270,000 daily circulation to 40.
Wow.
And now you can fold up the daily paper and put it in your pocket. I mean, because the demand for news in traditional ways doesn't exist, but those people still exist,
Right.
and the avenues to reach them still exist. But instead of somebody dropping off a news release or writing a check for an ad, where you can dependably say, oh, I know I can reach those people because they're going to be watching the show, they're going to be reading that paper or that magazine. Those people aren't doing that. They're looking at this podcast, they're looking at Instagram, they're looking at all these other places. So the challenge is for smart people to mobilize and invest whatever sum of money is necessary to break through that barrier of now self-curating news so
Right.
that we can get information to people, because they're still looking at stuff, they're just not looking at our stuff.
It's extraordinary, Kevin. I love that. I really do. We had an issue with Dem Talk America where we were going to promote us on Facebook and Instagram, and they don't take political advertising, or they don't take political promotion. I don't remember what the issue with them was, and we got to talk to everybody, including their lawyer. So it was kind of interesting to find that out. In terms of social media advertising, I'm going to tell you a quick story about being in Pennsylvania in 2000 for the Gore Bush
Hmm.
campaign, and sitting in the hotel, or maybe even in my hotel room. Uh, there was so much advertising. I mean, it was every half hour or every on the quarter hour, whatever the thing was, there were ads, and sometimes they wouldn't have Bush or Kerry in the damn ad, and you didn't know who it was for or what it was against or that sort of thing. You were talking about fatigue earlier and exhaustion, and television advertising. At some point, every minute is bought, right? Going into the election.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, in California in 2010, we had a major gubernatorial election. We had a moderate Republican running against former Governor Jerry Brown. Brown shellacked her, but there were so many campaigns, or excuse me, so many commercials purchased during the course of that campaign that TV stations were making their 2-minute commercial blocks 4 minutes. They were
Wow.
booking extra commercial time in between shows. They were looking for ways to sell time in any possible way, and at one point, we're worried that one of the candidates in the Republican primary might drop out because they were worried that this money that they had all of a sudden become used to was not going to happen.
Right.
And luckily for them and for Hearst, that money still flowed. But um, but yeah, I mean, that was sort of the high watermark. That was 2010, when we were dead men standing from a media standpoint, but we didn't know it yet.
Right. Let me ask you a question. If you had,
Yeah.
let me ask you some targeting. If you had one of these campaigns, I'll say the Biden campaign, and you were
For
had
example,
your
yeah.
you had your advertising dollars, $100 million and everything like that. What's your rough break? Is it worth having a cell phone to text somebody, or is it worth having an email or a home address? What do you think is your 100 million? How are you going to target that?
In my 100 million, mind you, it's really my 2 billion, because that's the kind of money it's going to take, $2 billion to elect a president.
Wow,
Um, I
that's
would
crazy.
I would radically upgrade the time and money I spent on social media, because
Mm,
that's where people's eyeballs are, and all you're doing is buying eyeballs.
right.
I used to joke. My wife used to sell advertising for a major cable outlet, and in the course of that, clients would always say, "I want to be on CNN. I want to be on Fox. I want to be in the evening news, whatever it was, because that's where the consultant was watching TV." But
Right.
but the
And the
but the point
candidate, right?
was,
What does the
it was
candidate
the
watch at night?
yeah, exactly. And so, with that very small committee that will lose if they only talk to themselves, the fact was that you could reach just as many of your target voters by buying, the stupid show about buying a wedding dress, or some reality TV show,
Right.
or someplace where you just collected the eyeballs.
Right.
We're doing this. We have to do the same thing, but targeting the eyeballs is just harder because it's not just a matter of, like I said, lazily buying a show or buying a network because we knew their demographics. Now we don't have any of that infrastructure. We have to
Right.
go and assemble our own outreach to our voters through, as much through social media as anything else.
Right. Well, I really appreciate your time today, Kevin. I can't thank you enough for. I know how busy you are, and I love San Diego, by the way. So anything I can do to get
Yeah,
down
I
there.
mean it's not so bad. It's not so bad.
San Diego's nice. Very overcast and cold here today in Sacramento for some reason. Listen, I want to thank Kevin Eckery very much. We'll have you back on soon, and from Dem Talk America and TigerEye Design. Really want to say again, thanks, Kevin. And thanks to you guys. And don't forget, if you go, you get a magnet. If you go to our webpage, you get a magnet, Reelect Joe. And what's better than free, Kevin? Nothing.
Nothing is better than free, Ed. And hey, thanks for the air. I appreciate it. And anytime you want to get together, I'm there.
I appreciate it very much.